It is Friday, November 11, 2022. It is also Veteran Day. And I figured that I would do something, I guess, slightly different for me of late. Since I've been doing a lot of hard-hitting stuff, I figured I would do a Friday ride-along. And I have just started, I started my first half hustle today, first half grind, at about 10 minutes ago. And I caught a quick Instacart from Staples, 3 items, paying $17 and change. Now, the reason why I took that order, because I'm on the northwest sector of my market, the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area. And I have 2 catering orders already lined up, one at 10:45, one at 11 o'clock from the same place, Red Robin, and they're going to the same customer. Don't ask me how, why they ended up with separate orders on separate apps, but those 2 orders combined are gonna bring me about $59. And adding this Instacart, by the time I drop off both orders, which should be in the next, I want to say hour and 15 minutes, I will have made $75 in an hour and a half, and that translates into a quick $50 an hour clip. Now, I still will have to complete my first half hustle by trying to find additional order opportunities, but at least I'm off to a nice bump to my daily grind. Now, some of you have seen on my community post where I posted where I'm at least for the week. I'm at $785 after 3 days work, a combination of 3 days work. And the other specific numbers are that I put in 22 and a half hours, averaging, and that translates into a $260 a day average, and also for you dollars per hour people, just south of $35 an hour. I take those numbers any day, and I challenge any 70 percentile DoorDash top DoorDash Diamond Zone person, or even a top dasher thirsty to replicate those numbers, and not on Tony Zhu time, which is actual time. Well, anyway, if you like the content that's been provided so far in this segment of the Gig Geezer or in any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. And also, if you're a first-time visitor of Gig Geezer or you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, hey, if you would not mind, do as I had already asked about hitting the subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. So I'll get back with you once I've dropped off this Instacart order, and then I'll resume the conversation at the pickup location for the 2 catering orders. I am here at the pickup location, and as you can see in the back, I've had to move some stuff from the bed of the truck into the back row here. But my time waiting here at Red Robin is going to be all of about 10 minutes, and that includes getting the orders and now moving out. It just so happened the manager, this lady, she's got her act together. I got to hand it to her. She don't be playing around. In fact, with the catering orders, she had the drivers to sign off on them. It's not just, as I may have documented a few weeks back when I had those 2 $1,700 orders. No, she has the driver to sign off on all of them, no matter, regardless of the order size. And I'm cool with that. She wants these orders ready. The thing is that she wants these orders ready. She don't want drivers to be waiting. She don't want people to be pissed off, because she's going to be pissed off. And I can respect that, and I can deal with that. That said, these 2 orders, which are going to the same person, the drop-off location is probably from this exact spot is less than 10 minutes away. That's even better, and so it puts me in a position to migrate to another area that I tend to like to work this time of day, and so that I can be looking for additional orders. Now, one thing that I've shared one thing I've done, if you've noticed on the community posts, and actually if you really look at what's behind a lot of my uploads, is that I am showing how accept less, earn more still works. I am showing how multi-apping still works, and that you actually put in less time doing multiple apps and accepting less, yet earning more. And also you're making more money, and that's the name of the thing, making money and staying busy. Now this is not really some vendetta or this mission to absolutely disprove the 70 percentile diamond zone driver or the top dasher. This is really not that. I just want to present to you an alternative. I think if some of those 70 percenters actually present things in a way in that they're saying, look, we want to show you how to maximize your experience, and not really trash people whose philosophy is diametrically opposite to theirs. Yeah, I could go with that, and probably won't be fuming and seething when I see their content. But because certain content creators come across with this Pepsi Doodle bullshit, then it's like, I'm going to show you motherfuckers that what you're saying doesn't really hold a lot of water in my book. And so while too a lot of this is markets, this may vary according to your market, and it may also vary according to the driver. But as I mentioned in another segment, it is still what it's all about is that what you do at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, and at the end of the year. All right, so we're done with the two catering order drop-offs. We're talking about one that's showing right now, based on my estimation, paying $32.48. The other one paying $26.83. So that's $59.33. Earlier in the week, some catering orders with the final tip pool number came in at $26.02. So I'm anticipating maybe another $2 more. So those two paid over $60. And then when I throw in the Instacart, that's at $77, and that took me all of 1 hour and 15 minutes. That's not bad. That's well over. In fact, you're almost pushing at $60 in an hour. $60 an hour clip, that is. Now, my first half also is really going to should end on a roadie opportunity. It's a roadie batch opportunity at Walmart. There's 11 items to pick up. The offer amount is $59.95, and it should take about an hour to complete. And based on the map, it should take about an hour and 15 minutes. So I need to be over there in the next 20 minutes, which is doable. And then hopefully I'll be done from this point in about an hour and 45 minutes, and I will have been out just 3 hours and will have made just south of $140, averaging over $40 an hour. See, that's how you make your money, man. That's how you make your money. So I'll get back with you once I have secured the items to be dropped off with the roadie. I waited for about a good 25 minutes for my batch roadie order to come through. And roadie has done some things a little differently at least since the last time I've really done a batch roadie order. It used to be that you can kind of play around with the route and just deliver as you need to. But roadie's got it set up where you have to go exactly according to the route. All right, in my experience doing like Amazon Flex, Federal Express, and as I mentioned in Roadie Past, you had your itinerary, which is your route, and then you delivered as you saw fit as to what made logistical sense. But I guess Roadie has taken that independence away from the driver and is saying, at least based on what I'm seeing so far, I try to contact Roadie support, and I wasn't able to get through, which is a common experience with roadie. That said, so I am doing this route in the reverse order that I actually tried to draw it up, meaning that I'm doing it, as Roadie says. The problem is this route is taking me way the fucking opposite direction. I wanted to set it up to where I went to the last stop first, and then the last stop first, at least according to the original itinerary, and then the first stop last, which would be closer to me heading back to my my neck of the woods in the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area. Now, had I still lived in Lexington County as I did as late as June of 2021, that wouldn't have made any difference to me, because I mean, from that furthest point, I probably would have been about 15-20 minutes from my place. But now I'm going to be a good 30 to 40, at least a good 40 minutes away from my place once I complete this route. But that said, this is territory that I am more than familiar with, even the furthest point that I'm going to. What's funny is that you have a hell of a lot more dirt roads and rock paths in Lexington County than you do in Richland County, but that's neither here nor there. Now, in doing this batch order, I think if you're already familiar with the Roadie app, if you're one who's already completed Roadie orders, then you know about how to scan the item if it requires you to scan the item. And I must say that a year later, Roadie's app is much more efficient with the scanning of items, because a year ago it was a big issue scanning ID. Wasn't able to scan ID, and I guess Roadie has made some improvements on that end. Well, when it comes to doing batch orders, in this particular case, it's with a Walmart. Walmart person comes out with a cart or a basket, and you have the option of scanning each individual item, or you can scan the entire batch, which saves time. It gives you the option to hit a tab in which you can just scan all the items, and then it updates automatically. When it comes to dropping off the order with the Roadie app, it's gonna, one nice thing for someone who is not the most adept at finding their way around, the app will alert you when you are within range of dropping off the order. It will tell you that it'll give you a notification tab that, okay, you are arriving at the address. Then you'll notice that it will say swipe to arrive. Then you must scan the item, and then you must document by taking a picture. You must document within the app, selecting whether it's dropped off at the front door, in the garage, or what have you. And then you take a picture of the item along with where you dropped it off. Or what I do is I take a picture of the item with the structure in the background, something that I've shared previously on the Gig Geezer. And then what I recommend, because I guess I showed some impatience with my first couple of drop-offs, wait a few seconds before you mark the order as completed, because the system has to update as well, noting that you have done the previous steps. So give yourself a few seconds and then mark it as complete delivery, and then it should generate where you go to the next stop in the on the itinerary. All right, so I've just dropped off order number 5, heading into order number 6, and I'm probably about 7 minutes away tops from that drop-off location. And it appears that with UPS doing the logistics part, you know, I'm not going to argue with UPS when it comes. They know their stuff. I used to do. I actually worked for UPS many years ago, almost 20 years ago, working at the airports where I loaded and unloaded planes, and then when I came back in a different stint, I worked what they call a tug, and I took the very things I used to unload the planes, the cans, which were these 6,000-pound aluminum encased containers with all the items that were flown in or shipped. I would take those cans that the guys would unload from the plane, take them inside the processing center. Then the people inside would reroute the parcels and then put them back in the can. I would take them back out to the plane. Now, you hear all that raining is because I'm in Lexington County and the rain gets pretty bad out this way. This is also what I would consider tornado alley because, again, this is Lexington County. But this is another reason why I would have preferred to have gone backwards, gone reverse order, because then I would have probably have worked my way out of the rain instead of driving into the rain. With that said, hey, this is a very welcome departure from having to try to work food delivery apps and racking my brain of trying to position myself with a food delivery order, and then wondering if DoorDash is going to freeze me out because I have less than a 5% acceptance rate, or Uber Eats, and will I see any quality orders on that app, and then Grubhub because I don't work the assigned region. When you don't work the assigned region, the app is very quick to turn you off. What I mean is log you out, and then you have to log yourself back in. Or the other thing is that it will mark you as absent on the schedule. And the thing is with Grubhub, you have to be on the schedule in most cases to see orders. And then there's the other apps like Roadie and Point Pickup. But anyway, it's a welcome departure today. I mean, once I complete this, I will be at $1.30 and change, more like about $1.36 and change. If I finish this in an hour, it would be 3.5 hours that I would put in, and I still will be at over $40 an hour. That's the goal right now. All right, so I have dropped off order number 7. And now I'm going into order number 8, which puts me 2/3 of the way complete with this route. And I'm also going into what I call the boondock part, because I started in Lexington, which is the town of Lexington County, and then the neighboring town that I'm about to go into is Pellion. And Pellion probably has 2 stoplights, if memory serves me correct. There are 2 stoplights in Pellion, and the biggest happening is the Rawls family farm, which is like the biggest employer in that town. But one other thing that Pellion is known for is the late actor Paul Benjamin. Paul Benjamin has film credits in Do the Right Thing, Friday Foster, and The Education of Sonny Carson. So that's something that really surprised me, because I never would have thought that Pellion produced anything. But Paul Benjamin, that's his birthplace, and we are actually going into his birthplace. One other person of note that's in the rural part of the greater Columbia metropolitan area is the late actress Eartha Kitt. Miss Kitt was born in a town North, South Carolina. North is about 30 minutes outside of Columbia, about 30 minutes outside of Columbia, down Route 321. We are going down Route 302, which puts you outside of Columbia and about 20 minutes from the Columbia Airport. All right, as you can see here, I think you can see here that this is a rural part of the greater Columbia metropolitan area, as we are well off into Lexington County. Now, what is very common, being that I am out in this rather rural part of the greater Columbia metropolitan area, and see here what I'm talking about, you're liable to be greeted by any member, any type of species from the residents welcoming committee. And that's this last drop off. It was a good thing that the owner came out to direct her chairperson of the welcoming committee back into the house, because I had prepared myself with my tire jack iron to beat the shit out of her if she came anywhere near me. But I have out here in Lexington County been greeted by sheep, goat, dogs, chicken, roosters, and I have seen some ugly ass fucking pigs out this way. I shared that previously in another segment of the Gig Geezer, but definitely it was out in Lexington County when all those things happened with the sheep, the goat, the chickens, and the roosters, and a pig, in fact. But that's kind of the fun part, but there's also kind of a dangerous part too. And I'm certain, and what I'm voicing is definitely a concern when you are doing like Amazon Flex or even Federal Express or UPS, especially out in the outer lying areas. The owners of their animals are not so much as they may not be there when you arrive on the property, and they come running up to your vehicle, and then you've got to make some quick decisions as to how you're going to drop it off. It was very common for me in certain situations where I would position myself next to their vehicle and place it on the hood, take a picture, and moved on to avoid any contact with their animals. And that was while I was doing Amazon Flex. But you know, there's also been in the news where delivery drivers have been attacked by animals and killed, where they've been mauled to death. So you definitely want to be aware of your environment when you show up on these people's properties. Alrighty, now I actually tried to document something else though, but you see out there on the inset me walking from a drop off, and you saw on the inset that big ass fucking puddle, and you saw on the inset the tire tracks that I initiated, thinking that, well, maybe I could drive through that puddle. Now it's never happened to me, but I have heard a few stories during my Amazon Flex days in which drivers actually got stuck in little lakes like that, in which they misjudged how deep it was, and their vehicle lost traction. But the funny thing about it was, as I got into my vehicle and start maneuvering my way back out, there was a lady coming up in a small car. And I kind of rolled down, went and talked to her, and I told her, well, you know, I kind of walked my way to someone's house that was just a little ways up, and because I didn't know how deep the water was, she's like, oh, well, thanks, but she drove right through that shit. I'm like, damn, I guess I was being overly cautious though. But can you imagine being in the middle of fucking nowhere and you gotta call somebody to pull your ass out? So yeah, those are decisions that you have to make when you're doing deliveries like this. But I have one more delivery to go, and I am less than 10 minutes away. And for the day, I will have completed this in right about 3.5 hours. More like 3 hours and 45 minutes. but still, that's pretty good, you know, pretty good pace for what I was doing today. Didn't have to worry about food delivery, didn't have to worry about dealing with acceptance rates or anything like that, and I'm still at about $40 an hour for this first half hustle. All right, so I am done with this roadie route that paid me $59.99, not $59.95. So you might as well say $60. There are a couple of things that a couple other things I wanted to mention in wrapping up this particular segment of the Gig Geezer and about these type of batch deliveries. When you go out to places like where I have delivered to, not only do you deal with the welcoming committee of the animals, you also deal with folk who will actually come out to you to get their items and so forth. I don't know if because they've been waiting, or just because the fact that, hey, some strange person is on their property. Now, I've not been greeted by Smith & Wesson, but you know, you definitely want to make it known that, hey, you're here to drop off something, and you're here to drop off something, and you're looking to get the fuck out of there once you're done. And so one of the things that I always did, at least during my Amazon Flex days, and even during even with Federal Express, I am very quick to get that parcel in my hand, and I'm waving it and say, hey, this is what I'm here for. Oh, okay. Especially, I mean, I'm in South Carolina, and I'll just leave it at that. You look at me, think of South Carolina, and you'll understand why I do what I do. Don't want to have any mistaken identities and any mistakes in the process. So the money part. Now, this particular route, according to Roadie, it said it was 27 items total, I guess, but there were 11 stops, and it should have taken 52 minutes. Well, I showed you by the time I got to stop number 6 or something, I was at 48 minutes at stop number 6 or 7, and I thought I was making good time, knowing the area. Now, here's a little catch to that. These app companies, and this is something I learned from my early Postmate days, Postmates indicated that what they do is when they calculate the distance, it is based on a straight line method. So going back to your math days, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So the mileage that is shown on these apps often may not be entirely accurate, because this route actually took me twice as long as what it was recommended. Now, as I got to certain stops, I saw where the estimated arrival time, I was within a couple of minutes. And also with the stop that where I dealt with the little lake, the little pond back there, that was the only time that I got crossed up in trying to find where I needed to go. I actually was heading in the right direction, turned around looking at the map, and ended up having to use a third source, which was Waze. I have 2 Google Maps, Waze. I try to consult the Lexington County map, the Lexington County tax map, but you have to have a username and password in order to access it. Unlike Richland County and Kershaw County, where all you have to do is just pull it off. So that was a little bit of inconvenience there, but obviously I was able to find the place. So when you're doing batch orders, the one thing I do recommend is to try to map it out. One thing I do recommend is that as you're going to the stops, try to always think a stop ahead. So as you're leaving, let's say if you're leaving stop number 3 and you know you're going to stop number 4, look for stop number 5 so that you have an idea of where you need to go, so that you can save time in the process. Don't depend on the fucking apps. Don't depend on the fucking apps in terms of showing you where to go, because they can lead you into a fucking ditch. And so one thing I actually recommended in a very early segment of the Gig Geezer is to have multiple mapping sources so that you can make this as efficient as possible. But that's all I have to share for this segment of the Gig Geezer. Even though it took me about an hour and 45 minutes, I still averaged about right at about $35 an hour on this route. And overall, for this segment, for this hustle, this first half hustle, I was right at $40 an hour. I mean, it was right there. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer or in any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button. Give my content a thumbs up. Share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm Inwood Lane. And as always, may your hustle and may your grind continue.